Welcome, and today we're going to do a few practice problems on the change in price of a good and what will happen to the supply and the demand in relationship to that price. So if you haven't already done so, you need to make sure your graph is labeled to help out with your equation. What I've already done is I've already labeled the price and the quantity. However, we still need to label the supply and the demand line. If you remember from previous lessons, the supply line goes to the sky. So we can already put an S there. That's going to be our supply line. The demand line will always go towards the dirt. So let's put a D there for the demand line. So there we go. We got supply, demand, quantity, and then the price. Now let's do a few practice equations. Let's first imagine you are selling a good, let's say shoes. Let's say you're selling shoes and the problem says you are selling your shoes for $80, but it doesn't give you the supply or the demand of that good. So for the first equation, we're going to put that the price is $80. That is something that we know. We know you are selling a shoe for $80. Well, what is the supply and what is the demand? Let's start with the $80. We're going to go over and let's see the first line that we hit. Now let's try to figure out, is this the demand line or is this the supply line? Well, it is the demand line because it goes down to the dirt. So when you hit that line, you would go down to your x-axis and know that at $80, at your demand, you have 20 units being demanded. Now you should put units or you should put shoes to make sure that that is how much is being demanded. But right now we can just put 20 for 20 shoes being demanded at $80. But we're still missing the supply. How much are you going to produce or how much are you going to supply for $80 per pair of shoes? Well, we go back up to 80 because that's how much we're charging. We go across. We do not stop at this line because that's our demand line. We actually continue to go all the way over until we hit our supply line. Then we go down and we can tell that at $80, 80 shoes or 80 units will be produced or supplied. So that is your first equation. You have at $80, 80 shoes are being made or produced, and only 20 are being demanded. Now let's imagine you found that $80 is just too much to be charging for your shoes, and you decide to decrease the price in your shoes. Well, we'll have that represented by the red marker. So let's say your new price. You've decided, all right, $80 was a little steep for these pair of shoes. So then let's decide to only charge $30. So $30 per pair of shoes. Well, now let's try a new equation to try to figure out how much the supply and the demand will be. So take a moment, pause the video if you need to, and try to figure out what is going to be the new supply and the new demand at $30. Well, if you paused it and you try to figure it out on your own, what you should do is first look for the supply or the demand at $30. So let's go across. Let's figure out which is the first line we hit, supply or demand. It's going to be the supply line because that's the line that goes to the sky as you go down. And so you have found out that at $30, 30 units of your shoe will be supplied. Well, we're not done yet because we still need to figure out how much is going to be demanded. Well, you start at $30, you go across the graph, There, we hit this line. We know it's the demand line because it goes down to the dirt, and we're going to go down. And there you go. 70 units will be demanded. So let's look at both of those equations next to each other. Let's try to understand what happens when price goes up or when price goes down. So because we charged $80 for our first unit of shoes, we noticed that when we increased the price, we also increased the amount we produced or the amount we supplied. However, the amount that was demanded decreased. So when you charge more for something, yes, you might want to make more because you might make a higher profit, or you might make more money because you're charging so much. However, as you notice, the demand is very low. Now let's compare that to when you decided to decrease your price. So when you decreased your price, what happened to the supply and the demand? Well, when you decrease the price of something and you're making it, you now know, hey, I can't make as much money. So then the supply also decreases. But you notice that the demand increased. So you have lower prices. You're going to have a shorter supply or a smaller supply, but more people will demand it because now it is cheaper. So in the next unit, in the next lesson, we're going to try to figure out how can we make up all that missing opportunity to make as much money as possible. How can we make more people demand it? Or how can we make more people or less people demand it so we can supply more? And that's when we're going to talk about something called equilibrium, which is what we will cover next lesson. Thank you.